healing is a process. Healing is very misunderstood, and a lot of people don't understand what it's like to heal. Today I want to talk about healing. In the Bible, there is a verse where Jesus asks a man who is ill, "Do you want to be healed?" And I want to talk about that story today. God bless you. It is Linda Munoz with Heal Together Ministries, LLC. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope that if this message finds you and you are in a place where you need healing, that you can be reassured that this message would bring enlightenment and that it would be a message from the Lord. Amen. John 5, ESV version says, "After this there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there in Jerusalem by the sheep gate, a pool in Aramaic called Bethsaida, which had 5 roofed colonnades. In these lay a multitude of invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed. One man was there who had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been there a long time, he said to him, 'Do you want to be healed?' The sick man answered him, 'Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, and while I am going, another steps down before me.' Jesus said to him, 'Get up, take up your bed, and walk.' And at once the man was healed. And he took up his bed and walked." That story is pretty interesting, and I can really relate to it. As I think about my healing journeys and the healing process that I'm in right now, the words, "Do you want to be healed?" really stick out. And there's some principles in here that we can learn about healing from the scripture. Do you want to be healed? You see, my story of healing started when I got COVID, and the Lord showed me that I needed healing. But it wasn't just from COVID. It was a deep inner healing. At Heal Together Ministries, we work on healing the mind, the body, and the spirit. We take an approach from multi-points, not just looking at the body, not just saying, "You're sick with COVID." We are beautiful creations, and we have multiple components within our bodies, multiple systems, if you will. And so when the Lord said that I needed to be healed, what he showed me is he was showing me roots that needed to be healed so that I could be healed. And until I began to address those roots, my healing didn't come. I had to do the hard thing. The Lord showed me when I had COVID, in this moment of just lack of hope, hopelessness, and despair, the Lord woke me up and called me. And he spoke to me in the middle of the night, and he showed me a big oak tree with deep, deep roots. And as I saw this tree before me in my mind, as the Lord showed me this image, the Lord began to speak to me that he wanted to heal me, but that the roots were very deep, and he wanted to heal me from rejection. Rejection is something that not people say, "Hey, you don't go to a doctor and say, 'Hey, doctor, I need to be healed from rejection,' very often." Rejection is something else that's also not very easily understood. But the Lord gave me the word, so I knew. And he began to show me how roots of rejection were causing me sickness, insomnia, and unhealthy relationships, and even affecting my spiritual walk. And the Lord said he wanted to heal me, but he said that it would be very painful. He showed me that the roots were so deep. And if you can imagine uprooting an oak tree, it's gonna be pretty messy. Those roots are deep. There's gonna be a mess. There's no way you can pull out an oak tree and remove some roots from an oak tree and no one notice. It's gonna be visible. And that's exactly what I began to experience. The pain that the Lord told me that I would experience was very real. If you just think of a minute in your head and imagine that oak tree just being uprooted. Even if you go out for a walk today and you see a small tree and you can uproot it, a small twig of some type, and you can uproot it and see those roots, you'll see there's a mess around. Well, that mess in my life was big. And I began to have things in my life stirred up. It was very hard. And there were days he told me what to do. He gave me instructions. He equipped me and gave me instructions and tools and resources to heal. But it was up to me to say, I want to be healed. And here today, before I record this message, I was just getting ready to take a moment to work on my healing. Because you see, healing is not just a one and done thing. I've heard people say like, oh, I've been healed from that. And it's like, yeah, I know of a man who says that he experienced depression, but he says he still struggles with it. And I can relate with that. I can understand how those same temptations can come if the root's not addressed. And sometimes we think we're good until we begin to see those old habits creep back up again. And that's exactly what happened with me. The Lord took me on this long, hard process. And then the Lord said that I needed to continue. Because healing is like you have to continue to maintain it, right? It's not that you're just done and fixed and good to go. There's a maintenance phase almost. If we think about, I'm laughing because I'm thinking of systems and I'm thinking of cars, it's just not to put ourselves down, but if we compare ourselves like to cars, it's like you don't just get the oil change once, there's junk that comes into your life, thoughts of rejection come before me every day. If not every day, then every week. If not every week, then every month. The point is that there are going to be triggers that if I don't continue to uproot and detox those thoughts and detox my thinking, then those thoughts can come back in. Healing is kind of like this. Sometimes we just want it to be better. We have a boo-boo, we have a cut, we have a hurt, we have a wound, and we just want it to be better. And we think it's better. And have you ever seen like a scab start to form on a cut? An open wound and a scab starts to form. I have a child who recently cut his arm very deeply. And he just wanted to be better. But that wound took a lot of time. And he was tempted to peel or pick at that scab thinking it's all better. But what he realized was that it still wasn't fully healed. See, there's things underneath on the outside. You might think, I'm good to go. And then if you realize you're relapsing back and you're falling back, then you really haven't fully healed. And I would warn you to be cautious of saying you're completely healed from something. But to say that you're in a different phase. Maybe you're in a, they say with cancer, like a remission, something like that. And yes, God does miracles of healing, but many times God is a God of processes. In the beginning, God's God. He could have made everything in one day, but there was a process. It took time. And the same as healing in our body, a physical wound takes time. Emotional healing takes time. Uprooting wounds of your past take time. And I want to say, even for those who are physically in your body, you're just like, I just want to be better. and you're on this journey, and maybe it's going to take time. It's going to take time. When I was working with my husband, who was struggling with extremely high blood pressure, I was using with Heal Together Ministries, what I do is natural remedies and holistic approach to healing, and using food as medicine, and supplementations is what I was doing with him, among other things. And I just wanted to see him better, and it was hard to know that it could take months before his body began to respond to those changes. And I even looked at the supplements, that how long until the results come. And sometimes we just want this quick fix. I just want to be better, because it's uncomfortable. The thing with healing is sometimes God will ask you to do something really hard. And it's up to you to say yes. It's up to you. But the question is, like, do you want to go through this process of healing and finally get to a place where you're better and you're free? Or do you want to go the rest of your life like that? It's going to be hard. But if you get through that hard time, the other end of that mountain is so much better. I can tell you, I can guarantee you, I can tell you from personal experience. You see, this man was an invalid. He's there around these people, multitudes of invalids. He was blind, lame, paralyzed. And there was this one man who couldn't walk. He couldn't walk for 38 years. And it's just like, really? 38 years? I mean, 38 years. He lost hope. He didn't use his legs in 38 years. And when Jesus saw him laying there, well, I don't know if he tried. Maybe he tried to use it, but when Jesus saw him laying there and knew that he had already been there a long time, Jesus knows. Jesus knows. Jesus knows your suffering, and Jesus knows how long you've been dealing with this. He said to him, "Do you want to be healed?" The sick man answered, "Sir, I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up." Enough with the excuses. Do you want to be healed? Do you want to be healed? Enough with the excuses. I don't have money. I don't have time. The kids, this and that. Got to clean the house. I got to do this. If you don't put yourself first, you're going to suffer sooner or later. If you don't put your health a priority now, sooner or later, you're going to suffer. If you think you don't have the money to heal now, to invest and give up some things that you really don't need just temporarily so that you can start healing, you're going to suffer much later. Because let me tell you, health expenses are very expensive. Health visits and doctor's visits and medications and surgeries, they're much more expensive. Sooner or later, it's going to catch up to you. And if you think you don't have time because of this and that and you're too busy, let me tell you, I've heard stories of too many people that have been in the hospital because they never took the time to properly care for themselves because they didn't have time. And they were months, and I'm not talking about a month, months, if not more than months, in the hospital, in a situation where they needed home care because they didn't take the time. Your health has to be a priority. God gave us a body to take care of. We have to take care of this body. We are not machines. We're not made to be like machines, like compared to a car. Even cars need maintenance. How much more do we need maintenance, a tune-up? Cars can't just run forever, and neither can you. And so I want to ask you today, do you want to be healed? Maybe the Lord's asked you to do something really hard. And maybe you're going to have to sacrifice giving up your satellite, maybe getting rid of Amazon Prime, maybe cutting back on your spending, maybe eating on no meats for a little bit so you can have on a budget. I don't know what it's going to take. Maybe you're just going to have to show up. Maybe you're going to have to reach out to me for a call. Maybe the Lord's urging you. I I need to reach out. I need help. Maybe you're just going to have to do that one thing that it is that you thought you couldn't do and forgive. God asks us to do hard things sometimes. But on the other end of that is healing. If God told you need to do this so that you can heal, then you need to do it. Then you need to do it. It was not easy. It was extremely painful. I cried for days upon days, day after day after day. And I'm not talking about a tear shedding. I'm talking about pulling from the deep roots from my childhood and birth. Deeply rooted memories I had to revisit and reassess and evaluate. It was not easy. It was not easy. And people may not understand you. I really feel that's important because people can discourage you. They may not understand what you're doing. They don't have to understand. This is between you and God. And if you need someone to work with, please reach out to me. Reach out to me. Reach out to me. He told him to do something hard. He said, get up and take your bed and walk. And I'm going to ask you today, are you going to get up, take your bed, and walk? Are you going to stay in the place where you have been, knowing that it's not good for you? God bless you. If you need help today, I encourage you to reach out to me. If you need help, reach out for help. There is no shame in saying, I need help. Yes, you have to swallow your pride. I know all about what that feels like. Yes, you may have to swallow your pride. Yes, you may have to do some hard things, but it will be so worth it. God bless you. If you know anyone that needs healing, please share this message. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can stay in touch with me, where I share videos, tips, resources, interviews. I've got a lot planned ahead on topics of the mind, body, and spirit. God bless you, and